Jewish families represent less than 0.2% of the population, but have produced a disproportionate number of billionaires, wealthy families, and entrepreneurs. Why? People think it's luck. It's not. This video breaks down the cultural, educational, and financial habits that create intergenerational Jewish wealth and what you can learn from it. I grew up Jewish, and I'm sharing this because the truth rarely gets told in public. Jews are a statistical anomaly. They represent less than 0.2% of the population, but dominate all the founders of the major companies that we know of today, the banking system, and major financial leadership roles. You kind of got to separate this into two different groups of people. You got the elites, and you got the common Jews, the normal people, right? And even within the elites, you have old money and new money. The old money is the Rothschild family, the banking system. You got Paul Warburg, who was really the Rothschild's front man for the international banking cabal that they created at Jekyll Island. He represented and mentored J.P. Morgan, Rockefellers on creating the Federal Reserve in America. He was the American frontman for the Rothschilds, Paul Warburg, and had the law firms and all of these situations that were happening in the early 1900s and late 1800s that created the financial system we know of today. Goldman Sachs was part of that as well. So you have these old money banking cabal elites, and that's why Kanye and all these other people talk about the global elites and blame the Jews, because the reality is they do own the media, they do own the news stations, they do own the government, they do own the financial system, and this is what controls the world. You also have the new elites. This list here, you have Larry Ellison from Oracle, Sergey Brin and Larry Page from Google, Zuckerberg, Michael Dell, Mark Cuban, Steve Ballmer from Microsoft, Michael Bloomberg, Sam Altman from ChatGPT or OpenAI rather. All of them are all the founders of basically all the major companies today, and they're all Jewish too. Then on the complete opposite side, you just got the common Jewish person, and that kind of breaks down into the Orthodox Jews and the non-Orthodox Jews. There still are a lot of people that go to Chabad, that are Lubavitch, that wear yarmulkes, that have talis, the talit, underneath their clothes, and that keep kosher every single day. My aunt and uncle keep kosher every single day. My mentors in infinite banking keep kosher every day. And those are a different group of people too. And they have their very traditional Jewish values. And then you have the normal American Jew. I didn't grow up kosher. My dad owned Philly cheesesteak spots, which is definitely not kosher. Most of us grew up in a situation where we're just normal people, but our generational wealth or generational ancestry really is just Jewish. And so there's the traditional Jews where we celebrate the holidays and we have Hanukkah and we light the candles and we do Shabbat, but there's not really the deep-rooted Orthodox values there too. And so there's all these different methods and these situations, but all of that, we own a lot of business and a lot of corporations and a lot of this generational wealth and this agenda that we have. A lot of this comes down to the international banking cabal and then the tight traditions that we have throughout our childhoods. And so I'm going to break down the rest of that for you here today, but this is really where it all begins. It all really starts at the home. I mean, growing up Jewish, we learned about business, we learned about money, we learned about how to be out in society. It was like a responsibility of ours to be able to understand business because I feel like we had to. And my dad used to bring home the cash from the restaurant, and we used to count it and watch the Sixers game together. I used to go to the bank with him. He used to teach me business, sit me down and teach me business. And a lot of people don't have that. And I don't know whether that's a Jewish thing. I don't know whether it's just a Waxman thing. But the reality is most families, regardless of which one it is, they don't do that. We have a responsibility to be able to be tight together, to learn about money together. We learned about investing. We learned about money. We got taught to read books. We got told stories of our ancestors and of our traditions and of our religion. But Judaism is really a race. It's really the race that is based on religion. And I don't really feel like there's no box when you have to choose, are you white, are you black, are you Hispanic, are you Asian? There's no Jewish box, but if there was, I would check that because we're really not, I don't feel like a white person. I'm a Jew. And we really have this value that we're our own people, and we have to keep that together. And so this is really something that is embedded in us as children, that we have to keep the tradition alive, because if we don't, there won't be any Jews left in the world. And it's something that we have, that even though all of these other groups of people are persecuted as well, we have the least percentage of the entire world's population. And it's our responsibility growing up that we have to maintain this heritage. We have to maintain this tradition. We have to keep that together. And so we go to school, and we have these situations where we're friends together. Our parents grew up together. We stay in the same areas together. And it's just something that it's an unsaid but also taught thing. It's something that we learn from our parents. It's something that was ingrained in us as children. And so it really starts at the home in teaching financial education, business education. We would get books. I would get books on the Jewish sports heroes, on the people that were Jewish in the media and Jewish in Hollywood. We learn that. We get taught that. And that's all about maintaining us, because we have to be tight together. And that's something that really starts early on, growing up as a Jew. Another thing we learn about is education. Education is a non-negotiable. We get taught to read. We get taught to learn. We get taught business. We have to go to work with dad. We have to go to business school. We have to do these things. Education is really something that we learn on how to do it. Now, learning the Torah, learning the laws, learning how to have literacy about money and communication, these are all things that are taught. And the only thing that's coming to my mind right now is the Asian culture of how it's important to be strong in math and science and engineering. We learn the same thing about business and money and finance. And so it comes down to how we're taught through generations so that we can keep the tradition alive, right? Really, everything about logic and law and discipline, all the things that are taught in the Torah, all the things that are taught in the Tanakh, all the things that are taught to us at Hebrew school, and understanding these traditions that are passed down for us, we have to keep that alive. And education has a big part of it, because really we're going to get brainwashed in some way, right? We're going to get conditioned by the school system. A lot of times we put our kids into Jewish day schools so we can learn more of Israeli culture, learn more of the history of Jerusalem, learn more of how to read Hebrew. Hebrew is the language that really is the Old Testament was originally written in Hebrew. Right? So all of the Bibles that we read today are all translated from Hebrew, and then the New Testament was written in Greek and Aramaic Greek. And so we have these situations that we have the backbone of all of education. All of the things that we learn today are all created by originally the Jews. And so we have this culture that we live in today in society, where the media, the education system, the business world, all of these things were first created, and the laws and the governing bodies and the unsaid culture behind it all comes from Jewish tradition. And so you really have to understand how education is key. And a lot of times people don't talk about education like that. Now, I'm also not a proponent for going to college for $60,000 a year in the world today. But the reality is that we're going to get educated. I just believe that your self-education at home and your family education is much stronger than your formal education in the school system. Entrepreneurship, being a business owner, is expected of you as a Jewish person, especially in America. We have to be successful. It's just an unsaid thing. There's a lot of these things, as I'm saying this in this video, a lot of them are unsaid, but also perpetually said, meaning that it's an indirect teaching. It's something that we don't sit down and say, you must be a businessman, but you get taught and fed books about investing and the Federal Reserve and money and macroeconomics. And my dad used to give me Tony Robbins books and tape cassettes, and used to take me to seminars, and used to bring me to personal development, and used to have me read books like Rich Dad Poor Dad and Thinking We're Rich when I was in high school and middle school. Right? And entrepreneurship is the key to it all, right? Because really we get taught to go create something. Entrepreneurship is not necessarily owning a business. Entrepreneurship in the true meaning of the word means to solve a problem. And so we get taught about all the problems in the world, and then it's our mission to go solve them. Because if we don't solve them, someone else is going to solve them. And throughout history for the last 2,000 years, if someone else solves a problem in the society, sometimes the solution to that is to kill the Jews. And so we have to learn how to keep together. And so if we're the ones solving the problems and we're the ones owning the government and we're the ones owning the businesses, then we have a better chance of staying alive. At this point, we have very quickly diminished off the face of the earth, and there's only a few Jews left. We have to keep strong values. This is something that's taught to us through business, through entrepreneurship, through our traditions, because this is what's expected of us. And I'm not sure whether it's every single Jewish family, but I know for me and my friends at Hebrew school and in normal school, because I went to public school. My sister went to Jewish day school, but I went to public school. And all of us, our dads own businesses. We learn about money. We do business together. They grew up in the same areas together. It's something that's expected of us. And I'm not sure whether the pressure is greater to learn business if you didn't come from anything, which is totally a valid situation, to where you don't know anything about business and no one taught you at all about business, and maybe your mom or dad's not in the picture, or you didn't get taught business principles, but we get taught it from a young age, and then it is an expectation in the world that we have to go be successful. So I'm not sure what's better or worse or good and bad or right and wrong, but to me it just is what it is, in a higher state of acceptance and love and peace. Everybody has their own situation, and we all have to rise to the occasion every single day. Jews have Jewish geography, right? This is something that we talk about. You can go meet a Jew and go know somebody that knows somebody that knows them. And this is really the power of community capital, or social capital is what it's mostly called in the world today. It's the capital of knowing other people. And when you're a Jew in society, especially in America, I can't speak for anywhere else. In Canada, it actually seems like it's similar too, is that we all know each other. We all have relationships together. We all do business together. We all have friendships together. And you're going to know someone that knows someone that knows somebody. And so as soon as you meet someone with the last name of Mann or Gold or Steen or something or Berg, and you know that they're Jewish, and you ask them where they're from, you start thinking about, who do I know that traces back to those areas, right? And so there's always this connection. And it's just something that, again, we call it Jewish geography. You meet somebody and you know that they're Jewish, and you start figuring out who you know together. And most of the time, you guys know a mutual person or a mutual family, or you know of this group of people or this family that lives in this area, and you think they're related. And it's just about doing business together, funding deals together, being able to create collaborations together. We live in the world of collaboration, and I believe that the most collaborative group of people is Jewish people. We all are tight together. We all know each other. We stick together. My mom always said that Jews have to stick together. And it's just part of the deal. It's part of the deal growing up Jewish. It's part of the deal of growing up in a community where you're a minority. And we're actually the most minority group of people out there. And so we don't ever talk about it. That's another thing that we don't get taught to do. We don't get taught to have a chip on our shoulder. We don't get taught to say that we're minorities. We would never accept that. We would never acknowledge that. We would never make that an excuse for our lack of success in the world. And we treat each other as if we have to be able to be successful. It's something that we push down. We don't talk about how we're a tight group of people, but we are taught to be a tight group of people. I'm not sure if that makes sense exactly, but we don't use the words minorities. We get taught that we're a race. We get taught that we are a group. We are coming together. We are to do business together. We are to stick together. We are to create community capital together, and to not give in to this other bullshit way of thinking that we're not going to be successful because of the way society creates us. And I'm talking about here the common Jew. I'm talking about the normal person that just looks like me, talks like me, doesn't keep kosher, grows up in America, just happens to be Jewish. I'm not talking about the global elites. That's a completely different story. I'm talking about the normal person that you know every single day that happens to be Jewish. In fact, our religious and cultural practices reinforce this in our society, right? We celebrate the holidays, and at this point, to the common, normal, everyday Jewish person in America, it's really a traditional thing. I could read you a book this big in Hebrew, and I have no idea what it says. I could read you all Hebrew, but I don't know why. I'm not sure if that's by design or not, but we don't learn how to read Hebrew for the purpose of translating it. We just learn how to read it for traditional sense. Same thing happens with our holidays. We learn to pass on this tradition that we celebrate the holidays at these certain times, but we don't necessarily understand the true meaning of them. And a lot of our holidays are about celebrating the fact that we even have the freedom to celebrate something. All right, Hanukkah is about having 8 days of oil left so we can continue being in freedom. Passover is about our exodus from Egypt. We have the Rosh Hashanah is our high holiday. It's actually the year 5765 today, or 5785 in the Jewish calendar, which puts us back to 3760 BC as the start of the Jewish calendar. So we have these situations that our holidays are all about passing on tradition. And we have the Sabbath on Saturday. I'm not sure at what point it went from Saturday to Sunday, right? But I think it has to do with the fact that the Jews follow the lunar calendar, which is from sunset to sunset, which we follow the moon, which is the planet of Saturn, which is why a lot of times people depict Jews with horns because of the Saturn and the ring of Saturn. And we have these situations from the Kabbalah with gematria and the numerology, a lot of numerology and this spiritual practice that of this new age era of spirituality that we have in the world today really dates back to the Kabbalah, which is the numerology and the story of spirituality by the heavens and by the world and the way that the world is together. And so really, when you understand what's going on behind the veil, when you understand what's going on with the mass media, with TV, with Hollywood, with banking system, with the United Nations, with the government entities, with the three-letter agencies, a lot of it dates back to Judaism. And that's what really runs the world today. And that's why, again, people like Kanye speak out about this. And as a normal everyday Jew, that's not how we are taught. We're just normal people that just happen to be born Jewish. And it's our responsibility through these holidays and through our religious and cultural situations and our practices that we're supposed to keep this tight-knit community together so we don't get wiped off the face of the earth. Jews think very long-term. One of the principles of infinite banking is to think long-term. So maybe that's why it resonates with me. But we get taught to create generational wealth. We get taught to carry on the legacy. We don't get taught YOLO. We get taught that your life should outlive you. We get taught to build businesses. We get taught to create structures, to create buildings, to create things that will outlive us, to own things that will outlive us. Not fancy things, but real assets. We get taught to create this wealth and pass on this legacy to our families and to our kids and to our future generations. This is how we carry on the tradition. And according to my family and how I got taught from my mom and pass it on to me, is we have to teach this to our next generation. And that's how we've made it this far. Because otherwise, we wouldn't be here anymore. So more than ever, after Nazi Germany, after Egypt, after these situations where we've been persecuted, after recently, we continue to be persecuted, continue to be shut down, continue to be hated on. And I feel like we get the blame of the global elites, of the Rothschilds and the Warburgs and Goldman Sachs, all of that banking stuff. The normal Jew gets blamed for all of that situation, and they really have nothing to do with each other. I'm not a descendant of the Rothschilds. I probably wouldn't be speaking on social media if I was. I'd be in a different place and a different time doing different things. But I'm not really sure how that all plays out together. I'm not really sure what relationship that has to me besides the generational learnings that I've been talking about on the call today. And so it really comes down to being able to come together as a group of people. All of it really sums up into we get taught to be tight. We get taught to create relationships together. We get taught to create business together. And the whole purpose of it, traditionally speaking, is so we can carry on the legacy and be more long-term thinking so that we don't leave this planet and we continue to be here and be a prominent member and members of society. So why do the Jews stay rich? It's because we don't just make money, but we train our identity around money, around business, about entrepreneurship. And so if this is something that is important to you, it's something that's available to everybody. It's not just about being Jewish. You can choose to receive this information. You can choose to identify with the responsibility of carrying on the tradition of being successful. If this is something that's valuable for you and you want to learn more, please click the link below to join our webinar. We do a webinar every week on how to ingrain this into your society, where we go deep down the rabbit hole on money, on politics, on religion, on banking, and how you can utilize the financial knowledge that we have to be able to carry forth your own legacy in your life and create intergenerational wealth for you and your family.